Hello, everyone, and welcome to Eternal Mooncast, the streaming show all about Sailor Moon fan theories. We cover everything from the prominent to the obscure in the Mooniverse. We're your co-hosts, Michi and Azira. And tonight, our special guest is Breathlessaire, also known as Cassie. Cassie grew up watching Sailor Moon on Toonami and has loved it ever since. She is a craftsmanship cosplayer who has cosplayed over 20 Sailor Moon cosplays since 2006. Cassie has amazing Sailor Moon tutorials for Sailor Scout cosplays up on Tumblr and can't wait for her next Sailor Moon cosplay. Welcome, Breathlessaire.
Welcome. Thank you for coming tonight.
Yes, and I love that you cosplayed your best girl for this.
Tellu, give me your hearts.
I love it so much.
Hands it over. I'm just like, here you go. You win. Before we begin, I'm going to give, of course, my little spiel, as always. Our quick Moonie disclaimer. We would like to remind everyone that these are just our personal opinions. We do not in any way represent Toei or the Sailor Moon intellectual property. So we invite you tonight to join us as we stream live on Twitch, or you can join us in our Discord discussions. We'd also like to thank our Twitch and Patreon subscribers. You help us make the Moonie magic. Tonight we will delve into The Witches 5 Could Have Won.
Yes. And I am so excited because I have been talking about doing this episode since the beginning. Genuinely, I believe in these ladies.
Darn it. They just were all catty bitches.
They
were just always trying to one-up one another. And I'm like, if y'all could work together for 2 seconds, you only need 2 seconds.
And I was rewatching this and I was like, the reason I love them so much is because they're so petty with each other. And it's beautiful. And I love it. And that's why they're some of my favorite sub-villains, because they have no redeeming qualities whatsoever. They're the only ones that are never redeemed. They're just killed. They're dead.
None.
Everyone else, where they're brainwashed or they're redeemed, like the Ayakashi sisters, they're all redeemed. They're great. The Amazon Quartet, they're brainwashed and they're now sentient. No, these all, they do their job and then they're like, no, I don't like you anymore. Here's some snails, or I'm just going to pull the plug on you. I just don't like you. It's great.
It's literally brutal. Some of them. I can't wait to get into it because I forgot how cruel they were to each other until we were planning the episode, and then I was like, oh shit, like damn.
The sabotage, this absolute sabotage they give to one another.
Oh, it's great. It's so much fun, but it's so bad.
It's so bad. I want to find out, because who's yours favorite actually? I'm curious.
I always forget her name. It's the red one.
Yeah.
I always loved her.
Come on. To be fair, she was probably the most competent of all of them.
She figured shit out.
She was the engineer.
She almost got away.
She had the most episodes too.
She really did. All right. Oh, Mimete for life.
My little Artemis.
Oh,
it was like
there's
beep.
The baby.
Oh,
hello.
No, thank you.
Hello,
I don't like
baby.
it. Luna and Artemis were in here earlier. They've since left. They'll return because they'll come like right over here and just
in the
sit
background
and just sit and stare.
With my Tellu.
I'm like, can y'all make me creepy? Thank you.
Gotta love our streamer cats. But okay, let's get into this. So let's talk first about the difference between the manga and the anime and Crystal, because there's quite a few differences.
There's a lot of differences between the two. Just the whole premise of the two is completely different. Like manga Crystal is very to the point. The original, like the 90s anime was, we have villains of the week. We're going to go around it very differently. But the ultimate idea is everyone's trying to find the chalice or the holy grail, depending on how the translation is. And it's the 3 talismans to get the holy grail. But why they're finding it is so different.
I'm wrong, but for the talismans, the Outers already knew about them, right? They know that they have the talismans in the manga.
In the manga. In
That's
the anime, they have no idea. They just have the idea that they're within a pure heart. So that's why they're trying to go around and steal the pure hearts, regardless if it kills somebody or not in the anime.
Yeah, which is wild because it changes Uranus and Neptune as characters because they're a lot more black and white in the anime than they are in the manga.
Yeah. In the anime, they're much more willing to get their end goal, which the first goal is to find the talismans, so to find the pure hearts. Once they find out it's them that have them within their pure hearts and they survive killing themselves, then the mission is to find the Messiah, because the Messiah is, if the good Messiah has the chalice, then everyone survives. If the bad Messiah has the chalice, everyone's dead. And
Yeah.
then in the manga, it is they know they have the talismans. They're looking for the Grail Sorta. Chibiusa sees it in the future as like a painting on the wall in her mom's room. And it comes together with the power of love, because that's always how it is. The first time is with Chibiusa, Usagi, and Mamoru. And then the second time is with all of the Senshi. So they only bring the chalice up twice in the manga. The anime, it's every episode after Eudial figures it out.
Yes, exactly. No, and then what do you think of the difference of using pure hearts as like what we're trying to get versus energy? Because energy feels very negaverse.
So energy is something in the manga that it's very consistent throughout every single season. It is, we need energy, versus the anime, they decided to make it something more human. So each season, Beryl is just energy. She's just energy. Then we have heart. So you're sealing everyone's hearts, so their purity. Then we have their dreams eventually. And then we have their souls.
Yes.
So there's something, it's not just energy or finding this thing. It's, we need something specifically within the energy source.
Yeah, so that's an interesting take, because I feel like almost making it pure hearts and mirrors and like the soul. Like I think it's more dramatic, but I like it more.
I like it more as well, the more that I go back and reread or try to watch Crystal. It's really pretty, but I remember why I don't like the manga as much, because it's very cut and dry. Also, their legs are just so disproportional in the manga, and you're like, oh, I forgot about this.
What are you talking about? My legs are that long.
Yeah, your legs are 10 months.
Are twice as long as the rest of my body. It's perfect.
Yeah, I have now for legs.
Oh,
yeah.
No, I got turkey thighs. We're fine with that. But yeah, so the anime, they actually make it something that you could be like, oh, if they don't have this, then they're dead. If they don't have their heart, they're dead. If they don't have their dreams, they're a zombie and dead. If they don't have their soul, they're dead. Versus their energy, you're like, oh, they can get their energy back. We did, especially with all of the times Chibiusa gets her everything stolen, and Mamoru has to be like, here's my energy to keep you alive.
It's so true. He does that so many times.
Every time. He's always holding her on the bed, because they always go back to his apartment, and he's always like holding her hand. It's got the weird glowy thing going on. And he's like, I'll stay here out of the way, because you don't need Tuxedo Mask with my one attack and my rose.
Captain and Useless. We love him.
He understands he's the damsel in distress, and he's not going to get in the way.
He is. He really is the damsel in distress. The only two times that I actually really like him, like in action, is when he's Santa Claus in the movie. And the second time is also in the movie The Dream Vortex, where they're in the dream and he's, you can stay with me. Usako, stay with me. And she's, no, you're too perfect. Bye. I was like, the series, he's only really good as Moonlight Knight. Sorry.
Moonlight Knight, he's excellent.
And that is not in the manga. That is only in the anime.
We were robbed.
We were robbed.
Yeah. Oh, we were so robbed.
No, but I do definitely agree. It's a more dramatic imagery and meaning with the pure hearts and the crystals and all that. And then the other thing that this season delves into is who is the Messiah, which is wild.
So the whole Messiah thing in the manga, it's not really talked about the Messiah. It's just the awakening of Saturn, pretty much, that they keep talking about. In the anime, it is the Messiah, that Uranus and Neptune have this like dream that the Messiah is coming, and they need to find the talismans, because they need to make sure the right Messiah is awakened, or the right Messiah is the one who gets the power. And then throughout the whole season, it's the butterfly Messiah with the long hair, which kind of looks like Galaxia with giant wings.
Oh my God, it does.
because it's the long flowing hair. Every time it's the long flowing hair, and let's face it, it's just they can't be that very creative, but they're constantly looking for that motif because they can't do angels and demons in the anime. They want to stay away from those references, so they do good versus evil, and they use the butterfly as the source of good because it's really pretty to animate, and everybody is, oh, butterfly, that's still very good symbolism.
No, definitely. It
Even though in
reads.
Japan, like a lot of stuff, they use the butterfly with Shinigami.
Yes, with death.
With death.
That's I don't know how that's like.
Yeah,
Like in
and it's
Bleach, they use the
usually
butterfly
a blue
for
butterfly too.
communication. Yeah. A
Oh,
lot of
okay.
times
I didn't know
butterflies
that.
use the Shinigami. So I always
Go
found it
figure.
interesting because I love butterflies. So I've always loved this arc with the chalice pouring out and it's rainbow butterflies. I'm like, yes. But then I like got into other animes. I'm like, why are the butterflies always associated with death?
Yeah,
Because it's soft and gentle, and a butterfly collecting somebody's soul is much more acceptable versus being like, you're good, you're bad, you're going up, you're going down, versus a butterfly to collect. It's the gentle flap of the wings. It's very pretty to look at. It's good symbolism. Also, they can be in so many colors, and you're like, oh, look at the butterfly, until you're driving, and then you're like, please don't die, butterfly.
Butterflies will also lick dead bodies. So
They will.
I'm learning so much tonight.
just in case anybody wanted to know.
Did not know that. Oh my god. So it becomes okay. So we agree that a pure heart. What would you guys say is a pure heart in the show?
In the anime, even Haruka and Michiru have a hard time figuring out what the pure heart is, because the idea is that the talismans are stored within a pure heart. It's never actually answered, because Chibiusa, when she's abducted for her pure heart, it's just her crystal that's being used as a power source. When their talismans come out, it's out of their hearts. And they're like, we don't have pure hearts. We've done some really bad things to protect and go complete our mission. And then at the end of it, the tearjerker scream that Usagi has when she's doing crisis makeup to bring out her own crisp heart to become Super Sailor Moon. Like, it's never answered what a pure heart really is versus any of the others. Like, none of them ever answer what is a pure heart. They don't do a pure dream for Nehelenia, and they don't do a pure, not even a pure, but they don't do the star seeds as pure anything, because it's just a star seed, you're born with it or not. For the dream, it's just Helios is hiding in somebody's dream.
It's just a dream mirror. There's no pure involved.
Picks the moon brat. And then this one is the idea of a pure heart. So it's just a good energy source, but everybody has the same shaped heart. Nothing is ever changed color-wise or energy source-wise with the hearts.
Yeah, we just see what Usagi's is especially bright.
Not even. If you watch it compared to all the others, it's just because it's in a traumatic sequence. It has the extra little lens for it's like when the animators take those extra few frames to animate her tears, and you're like, but there's no difference when Haruka's and Michiru, when their hearts come out, that animation before it becomes the talismans, the crystals are the exact same as everyone else. Actually, I have some crystals next to me.
Oh, you do?
I do. I have a box of hearts.
Please tell me that you made them from the Target decoration that came out several years ago.
I did.
No, mine are from Michael's. I have.
Because I remember the Sailor Moon forums blowing up. Everybody get to Target.
Yes, everyone ran at Target.
Yeah, because those were the resin ones. No, these are the ones that I originally had when I cosplayed Teru back in 2008.
Oh my god, it's perfect.
Nice.
So I have 9 of these.
Smart.
You
They're
gotta have
so
backup.
pretty.
Perfect. They're perfect. They're my hearts.
I love them.
But yeah, Michael's was the ones that had these, and you had to order them in bulk. So mine came in. I have a blue heart, a white. Like, this is how my hearts are. For your souls.
You just throw them in there. It's not nice.
sucking the lives out of children.
No, and then
That's what this is.
and
Okay,
then another
Winifred.
implication.
Lives of the Children of Salem. Where it's curtains.
And then another implication is Hotaru ate hearts.
Taru ate the heart. So they were gathering energy for Hotaru because she was warring. Inside of her was herself, Sailor Saturn, and the Messiah of Silence, I think is what they call her. Mistress of Silence was in the anime, is how they referred to her. So she had 3 people warring inside of herself. So they had to get energy to her in order to have the Messiah's Silence awaken first before Saturn to take over and be the big head honcho. They didn't really do a good job of getting her hearts. It wasn't until Karoinite stole Chibiusa and then put her on the sacrificial table, and then they ripped out her crystal, and then Mamoru had to go take care of her in the bedroom and give her energy to keep her alive. But none of them ever really were able to get energy. They kept wasting energy to get hearts with the diamonds, and they never really got her any energy. She just sat there on her chair.
Yeah, because I remember one scene she ate one. I think. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
But, it was just Chibiusa's.
Was it just? It must have been because the imagery was so amazing. I'll have to edit in a photo for YouTube. But when she was swallowing that heart and that lighting changed behind her, and then just everything about that scene was fire.
The hair growing and everything. Yeah. My favorite imagery from the anime with Messiah is her hand when it would reach out as the claw, and it would just be like galaxy looking.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, that's creepy. Yeah, that's evil. That's not good. That's evil. Yeah.
But it was also, I liked that imagery because it connected back to Wise Man.
Yes.
And to Metalia. So I did that because even though the 90s anime doesn't explain chaos.
Yeah.
It was a nice little hint. If you had read the manga before you were watching the anime, you're like, oh, that's chaos. It's all connected.
Yeah.
It all comes full circle.
It's all something.
Yeah. So I did really, I loved when it was like galaxy, because I was like, Wise Man? Metalia?
It's also so pretty to look at in the animation because you're like, oh, that cutout, because it's the same cutout animation style they use when the Senshi are transforming, because their bodies will be the cutout of the happy sparkle side of the galaxy, not the dark side of the galaxy.
It's all sparkles. And then I really think this season is a duality of good versus evil, even more so than Beryl's season, which I know is like the quintessential good versus evil, because Beryl is campy evil. Beryl is full camp. She and her dramatic ass generals.
Did you see her hair?
Her hair was
which time, the troll's hair, or when it was down all the time? She's just, let me look into my orb.
I would be dramatic as fuck if I did this all day. Like,
looking at her orb.
It's true. That's all she did was just rub her orb.
She just sat on her creepy little stone throne and just rubbed the orb and had all the beautiful haired knights take care of her stuff and keep failing. And she's like, you failed me. I was like, you couldn't get the man you loved, so you got possessed. You didn't succeed either.
You're like, listen, peasant, you misinterpreted something. He didn't even know who the fuck you were.
No, we're just creepy stalking him, and he was already in like his twilight. We stared at each other, so we're immediately in love phase. So don't even bother.
Yeah,
I love that so much. Oh my gosh. All right. Anything else we want to talk about before we move on to the differences of the actual Witches 5?
Duality of good versus evil was very interesting in that series in general, because you have the witches who, first of all, are very different from any other of the not sidekicks, but basically the villains, because like we said earlier, first of all, they're not brainwashed. They are there because they fucking want to be. They're like,
yes,
they're not from some backward ass planet. I don't think they ever go into where these women came from. They're
so
just
in the manga, I was
the
rereading the
manga?
manga. They were created by Professor Tomoe. So when they had the whole possession, lightning storm, and then Karoinite and Pharaoh 90 appeared to him, he was given essentially the diamond seeds, and he created 5 perfect specimens, which was the witches 5. So their only purpose is to be minions. Versus the anime, they don't specifically say that they are students who just are doing extra credit possession, but they do allude to them being first human, because Mimete says something about her wanting to just pull back and be an idol instead. So it alludes to them being humans who essentially volunteered to be part of the program or whatever the Witches 5 ends up being. They're not actual witches trying to level up in the original anime.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's really interesting about them. So you have them almost, because like you were saying, Mimete warring with herself. She's like, do I really want to freaking do this? I want to be an idol. Like, I want to be cute and go sing on stage. Leave me alone. But not just them. I think it's that season really put a perspective on people, because like you have I know we're talking about Witches 5, but it's Uranus and Neptune. And I think the personalities that we saw and that came out of that one, it made me love Sailor Moon even more, because they were very gray. It's a very gray area with them. And I think the Witches 5 series was the first to really delve into that with the characters that are supposed to be the good guys.
Ooh.
Not just the bad guys having gray areas, because we got Nephrite having a little bit of a gray area with the whole Molly thing and barrels. And then it was mainly the villains, because you have the sisters turning good and stuff like that. So this is the first time you saw the good guys have a gray area. And it was them, and they're like, who cares? They're Carcassonnes. And Usagi's like, excuse the fuck out of me? No, we gotta put it back. Let's just kill the monster. And Usagi's like, that's a person. And they're like,
we have a mission. We accomplished the mission.
It's fine. It's fine. We can just, nobody will miss them. That's literally basically what they're like. Nobody will miss that person. That's murder.
That's a little murdery.
You're like, so I think that's really interesting, because it was the Witches 5 season that actually brought that in. I just thought, since we were talking about duality of good versus evil, it was the first season to bring in a gray area for the heroes.
Was this when Ikuhara joined? I feel like it was. Let me check.
I was like, I don't know. I can hear Michi.
Yeah, it's a special effects. Google my bestie. Took over the position of series director during the second season Sailor Moon R. So he had just started last season.
So he had just done Moonlight Night with the Doom Tree, most likely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's when we started actually appreciating the series and not being like, I don't know if I like this or not. And Chibiusa needs to disappear. And this season, she's not there half the time. So it's great. And then you just ease back into her in Hotaru. And I was like, this is lovely. I'll take this amount of Chibiusa.
And that's why I always tell people, I'm like, read Chibiusa in the manga. She's actually much more, like, you can swallow her just a little bit more than you can in the anime.
Much more. She's so much more tolerable.
She feels like she's closer to the 400 years in age versus the 5 years of age that we're confused about. And then we're like,
also, Chibiusa matured in the Witches 5 arc in the manga. She like grew up. Like suddenly you're like, wait, she's actually looking like a teenager. The hell?
Yeah, it does get very different all of a sudden.
Like the manga, they actually show her growing up, which I really do appreciate, that she's actually not trapped in a 7-year-old's body, essentially. She's 900.
The anime, they also do the animation changing different for her aging, because she keeps going back to the future and then back to the present. So She goes to the future for a few years and suddenly she looks older, even though she hasn't aged for 400 years, but now she does. And then she comes back and she suddenly looks older and she's a lot more mature. She's not as annoying. It's still the pink sugar heart attack that doesn't do anything, but she starts having a purpose in the series as well, besides just putting the plot along.
Mm-hmm. So she also gets a move in Witches 5 also, because they get the, which wand do they get? It's a little bit of an upgrade.
Who, Chibi?
Yeah. Or was she still pink sugar?
I think she's
she was
pink sugar still. She doesn't get an upgrade until the kaleidoscope wand.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah,
I think she's still pink sugar.
But it actually did something. It started to do something. You started actually seeing her power flourish, I think.
He actually used it instead of just being a distraction. She used it for attacks, and she was still a distraction. But she wasn't just using it against Usagi. She was using it against the villains, so that way Usagi could then use her attacks on them.
Mm-hmm. She was out for half the manga of that, so she was laid up.
Oh my gosh. And then I realized that did we put it in our anime to talk about Dr. Tomoe at all?
I think we have it later to talk about him, but we can talk about him if you want to, because I was rereading the manga and rewatching some of the anime for this, and I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely redeemable in the anime because he's possessed by, I forget the name of the diamond, but he's possessed by the one diamond. So you let him go, and that's why at the end you're like, oh, Papa Tomoe is back. No, in the manga, he's just a scientist that's gone crazy. And now he has power and everything, and he's just replacing his daughter with robotics because she's falling apart. So she's literally dying, and he's just give you some more robotic parts. I need to awaken this demon person, and I need to like be this ultimate creature. And that's why eventually he becomes a daemon and he gets obliterated. But he's not redeemable. He is not a good father at all in the anime. In the manga. In the anime, he gets redeemable, and then he raises Hotaru for a few months before they then have to bring her back.
They're like, this is ours now. We're so sorry.
No, he's just an interesting character because in the anime, he's so goofy to me when he's Dr. Tomoe.
He's hilarious because they only show him in the lab with the glasses lit up and then the creepy smile. And then his lines are hilarious because, oh, what just happened? Yeah, let's just keep moving on. He's so funny. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know what's going on half the time. And then when he does, you're like, is he being serious? What's going on?
And he deserves more credit for being funny because I feel like he's a forgotten villain.
Oh, all the time. People are like, Tomoe, and you're like, Tomoe. That's who you were talking about. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, but I love him in the anime. I love his goofy antics. I love him riding a bike to power up one of the stupid inventions he did. Or when he was trying to slam the door into the diamond machine.
Yeah. I love when they're playing Twister, and because they only introduce the Witches 5 as they're needed, so everybody's still in shadow. So it's Utena with the Shadow Girls. You never see any part of them except their hair shapes, but there's no colors added to them, and they're just playing Twister on the floor throughout an entire episode. I was like, it's inappropriate because they're like supposed to be 14, 15-year-old girls, I think, but it's so funny. It's so random.
It's so random. That's the part of Sailor Moon I love, is that campy humor.
That's why we loved growing up with it, because it wasn't serious. It was great.
Especially the early Cloverway and Deke dubs.
Oh, Deke dub trash talk is elite. Go bleach your roots, creep.
Isabel, all I want to do is do her original scream of, oh, exactly that noise.
It's so good.
They were so good. They were so good. I just remember them being so funny. And then you watch it like remade and you're like, it's not funny anymore.
No, they took the humor out. They took the campy humor out.
I think that's why we loved the dubs at that time so much on Toonami, because if you think about it, Sailor Moon had the terrible, like, puns and everything. And it was the same with Dragon Ball Z because they were just adding puns everywhere to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what the dub was. If you watch like the original, it doesn't have any of those puns. It's not as funny. At least to
No.
me, it's not as funny. It's a lot more serious. I like my dad jokes.
Which is funny because I would have thought I would have wanted it to be serious, but then once it is serious, I'm like, but where's my humor?
That's what you get
There's
Crystal
Luna.
for. There's
There's Luna.
Hi, Tuna.
Yeah. And that's
She's
why
like, I'm coming for my food. Leave me alone.
everybody now that only is starting from Crystal, they're getting the serious Sailor Moon. And I was like, I get why there's not a lot of new fans with it, or it's harder to gain fans because it is a very serious series. It's very pretty, but it's a lot more serious and to the point because you're doing the weekly episodes versus the original anime. It's campy, it has terrible humor in it, and it has so much filler to develop the characters. Every filler is to develop a character. It's not just filler to it is filler to have a filler, but it's not like a Naruto or a Bleach arc where it's this 20 episodes of filler that you're like, we didn't need that. No, we needed this. We need to know how obsessed Mimete is with all of the different actors and everything in the area. We'll always focus on something different. It's great.
Because
Can you imagine
the manga just introduced them and they went in and out.
Yes.
They were
gone.
When we were doing research and I was reading the manga to try and figure out the order of like when they actually get killed off. Who was it that I think it was Viluy was only in 5 sections, drawn in 5 sections.
Yeah.
In the manga, like there's nothing with them and the rest barely get anything. So it's
they get axed very quickly.
Yeah.
That is one thing go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say that is one thing we have to applaud the 90s for, was giving these characters these fleshed out backstories and this just like overall, like they made them characters we remember their names because they were so well done.
Except for Viluy and Cyprine, because we all were like, oh, they got an episode each. They barely get an episode each. They barely gets an episode. I just loved her because she was green and she got the poison ivy treatment. Okay.
The twins didn't really have anything in the anime. They were like there and gone for the anime.
Yep,
if I remember
Cyprine,
correctly.
and they were barely like half an episode or so.
Yeah, like they got a peek and it was like
they didn't help the plot. They were there and then gone. By that point, we already had the Grail. We had Chibiusa taken and her crystal gone. So we're like, we just need to get to the final boss battle. We already spent 20 episodes with Karoinite, Eudial, and 5 with Mimete. Now we need to get to the ending.
No, it's
That's
true.
why I'm surprised they're included, like in stuff, like the twins, like that we even get their imagery because they weren't really there for 2 seconds.
They gave Eudial so much time that by the end of it, they had to and rush.
Yeah, that was they rushed through the writing at that point. They had already spent, how many episodes did they spend with Eudial? It was like at least a dozen, I would say. And then Mimete got 6 or 8. And then Tellu was 1. Viluy was 1, and then Cyprine Ptilol was 1. So 3, and then I think there was only like 6 episodes left in the whole season after that, because by that point they woken up Mistress 9 and Pharaoh 90.
It's like someone in the writer's room had a dream for Eudial, and then everybody completely forgot there was 5 of them.
Yeah, she was fun though. She was like ultimate campy, fun humor, all of her inventions and everything.
Her damn fire machine, where she actually is just like, Moon Brat, I got you. And then it works. That's the wild part. It actually works against her.
Yeah, and then I was rewatching it. I didn't forgot that the whole leveling up power situation with Sailor Moon is very different in the manga and the anime. In the anime, Eudial recreates her fire buster attack thing, and it's Usagi's attack doesn't work against it. Usagi's attack isn't just it's one and done. She tries using it, and if you watch the anime, you know it's not working because usually you have like the pretty music in the background with her doing her spiral heart, and it's just the basic sounds of the spiral heart attack going on. And you're like, oh, this isn't going to end well. And then Eudial's, and that's why they're like, we need the chalice. That's the only wing that's going to work against these creatures. And then for Mimete as well, they have the upped daemons, and then for some reason this outer sense, you're like, oh, you can just hold on to the grail because we're going to go disappear to look for the Messiah for a few episodes. So she just has the grail like it's a thing to hold on to at that point. Tellu kills herself with the plant.
Yep.
Viluy kills herself with her technology. And then Cyprine and Ptilol kill themselves by attacking each other because Mercury uses bubble blast to fog everything around. So they don't get killed by Senshi, really. They get killed by themselves.
Which is so interesting. Because as a commentary on villains,
they're actually very powerful. They just destroyed themselves. Like, they had the power. And Mimete, she got killed by Tellu because I pulled her plug.
And that was just bitches 5, as you say.
That was just pure. She's just holding the plug in the background. She's wow, they're stuck there forever. But yeah, by that point, Sailor Moon's attacks don't work. Like, her ordinary attacks do not work on the Witches 5 or the daemons they're creating. Because she needs the grail in order to have enough power to defeat them, versus the manga. She's able, like, her and the Senshi's attacks are able to defeat the Witches 5.
And that's a testament to their power, which is why I've always said if any villains could have won, it would have been the Witches 5 if they had just worked together.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Only one could win. They all died instead.
And it's interesting how it shows you teamwork and how much Sailor Moon values teamwork even in villains, and showing how not having teamwork destroys yourself.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Especially when you're sabotaging each other, like.
Okay, but nothing will ever beat the snails. The acid snails, like nothing. I remember as a kid, I was shook. And then her car goes right off the railing, and I'm like, did that just happen in Sailor Moon?
Yep. The thing is, also, I was rewatching some of the episodes, and another one where they have Eudial with the snails. It proves that they're just being catty around each other because it's like a locker sequence, like a locker room, and all the girls in the other time being like, she keeps failing. And it's what's Mimette's going to be next, because suddenly you can actually see her colors and everything. And it's just them just talking so badly about Eudial and how she fails and how they're going to do better and all of these things. And then the snails are in Eudial's locker because Mimete put the thumbtack in her slippers.
That's right.
Because they're just being
So
like
mean.
petty bullies to each other. And as soon as Eudial's gone, the Witches 5 door, they're just like, and a 4.
When they put the 4 on the door, I was like, oh dear God, they don't give a shit.
No, and then they have the Witches 3, and then by that point, they're like, we don't need them in the basement anymore. They're doing other things. We don't need a 2 and a 1. We can only get down to 3 in that sign. And I was like, that basement door.
That basement door was the funniest shtick. Like, I loved it so much.
So good. So good.
All right, any thoughts before we continue on? Let's see. So, which one do you guys like more? Do you prefer the witches hiding as schoolgirls or the witches hiding as lab assistants?
I think lab assistants, because it makes them feel not as, even though they're petty, not as childish, if that makes sense. So it doesn't make you think about how young they are versus schoolgirls. You're like, they're just young and just put in this position versus at the lab assistants, you're like, they actually have a brain. They're doing things. They're smart. They're smart people. Maybe.
They also made them women, not teenagers, by making them lab assistants.
Yeah. Even though
Because they were,
still in school.
I thought they were adults because of the 90s anime. And
Same,
then
honestly.
reading the manga, I was like, oh, they're supposed to be teenagers?
Yeah.
I thought these were grown-ass women.
So the only time they allude to them really being teenagers in the anime is, I think, in Viluy's episode, because she's talking about like the student stuff in that one. And there is one, just because I was rewatching it, where they're with Mimete, where they're doing like an underground classroom sequence, and they're talking about a specific type of bird, which then turns into the daemon that they're doing. But they're at the school desk doing a class, and Mimete has the safety book when you're doing a test so no one looks at you. She has that, and she has all of the Polaroids of all of the actors and their crushes and stuff. So that's like the only allusion to them being students. But otherwise, just like you said, I always assumed that they were adults. So like still young, but I would assume like young 20s maybe.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought they were like oldest 25 for one of them, and Karoinite's supposed to be like the 30-year-old.
Yeah.
Who's wrangling her kittens.
Wrangling the disobedient children.
Yeah.
Honestly, can you imagine though if Mimete had technology? Like imagine Mimete internet stalking on Instagram. It's a great thought.
She would have gone places.
That would have
Maybe
been
The place.
would have not been in the Witches 5. She would be right outside that idol's house watching them. Or backstage stalking them because she was an idol.
Somehow, some way. I love her. She would have gone
She would have
along
been
with
great
Bland.
on TikTok though.
Oh,
She would have made the cutest TikToks.
oh, she would have had a great TikTok.
She would have been great.
All right. So we talked a little bit about the Talismans anime versus Crystal. So it is a different implication, I think, with especially Chibiusa being like, oh yeah, I saw this chalice one time in my mom's room. And then Haruka Michiru's introduction.
Oh, the chalice is interesting because I'm going to do it for a school project. Will you guys help me build it? And you're like, what?
How do you know what
Manga.
this looks like? And you're like, is this the chat? What is this? And then she makes it, and you're like, oh, okay. And then it actually gets formed, and you're like, oh, okay. So it's weird because by the time that we were reading the manga, we had already gotten stars as well. So we'd always knew the end result of everything for Sailor Moon. And we're like, so why does she have a picture of the chalice in her room by the end of all of this when they're reincarnated and all of this jazz? It's there for the season.
For the plot point.
Yeah. Also makes you think, what other murals does Neo Queen Serenity have in her bedroom? Does she have one of the circus with the dream mirrors? Does she have one of the starseeds with the cauldron? What else do you have going on in your room mural wise?
Is it like a hall of trauma? Like
Hall of possessed people trying to kill you.
That's how she sleeps at night. We don't judge her.
No.
Trauma in their
She
own way.
sleeps with her demons, okay?
You're just imagining a Prince Diamond portrait in their bedroom.
He's got the creepy picture, 3D rendering of her being like, I'm a damsel in distress covered in pearls.
That's true. Fair.
How did you get that? No, he's a stalker. That would go along great. But yeah, anime, they talk about the chalice. They don't really talk about the chalice that much. They talk about the talismans. And then by the time they get the talismans, and they're like, oh yeah, it creates a chalice too of ultimate power. So with their powers combined, they create that. Versus manga, it is Chibiusa, Usagi, and Mamoru creating the chalice, or all of the Senshi creating the chalice.
For all the Senshi doing it myself.
It was the idea of leveling up. So like regular Moon is just Moon in her direct senshi within the solar, like within the 5 of them. And then next would be Super, which was her plus her outers. And then Eternal is everything.
Yeah, so it's all the leveling up.
And like I had mentioned earlier, I find it interesting that the way they did the talismans, because in the manga they know.
Yeah.
We're like, these are the talismans, we're freaking using them. And then in the anime, they were like, talismans who? We don't know where the fuck they are.
We don't know what they look like. We don't know what they are. And then they get them. They're like, oh, now I'm going to die for this. I hope you can make them work, Sailor Moon. Even though we haven't believed in you at all. And yeah. And then freaking Setsuna appears and she's like, I have the last one. And you're like, you died.
Where did you come from?
Especially in her purple suit, I'm like, what the fuck are you?
Also, I rewatched that episode and they're like, she's serene, like Usagi is running through the cathedral and they do the tar trap and everything. And then it just scans up and Setsuna's just standing on the ledge somewhere. And I was like, how did you get there? And what's going on? You're being a bit creepy. Why didn't you step in earlier? And you're like, because she's time and she knows that these things should happen, but then she doesn't know that other things are going to happen.
Meanwhile, she's watching Haruka Michiru, like those dramatic ass gays. Like,
why you gotta be tragic gays? I don't understand. Can you stop?
Because they're cousins. We don't know it yet.
They're girls and cousins too.
They know each other by the Band-Aid on their hand.
Oh my god. There's some things we'll never forgive Cloverway for. Oh, but what about, let's talk about our favorite cousins. Cousins.
I got it to your head.
You got me. Oh, okay.
Gonna loathe yourself for the rest of the night.
I will. No.
And then when you rewatch this to edit it, you'll reload yourself.
I'm gonna cut it out.
You can't cut it out.
Yes, I
No,
can.
that is prime material. You leave it where it is. Don't you dare touch it.
Fine, because if I do end up cutting it, Loki will just make it a clip.
Yeah.
Probably.
But I wanted to talk about Haruka Michiru's introduction because I thought it was really well done in the anime with how you got them first in silhouette. And it's the episode where it's the cat puzzle.
Nekondiru.
There we go. Yeah, because again, someone you're going to be very familiar with very soon.
She's hanging right over there.
I see her little tail.
Nekondiru, and I have Luna Kaguya Hime over here, and then I have a star over there. Yeah, that's right. They do appear first as this. They're a lot more mysterious in the anime because, like you said, they first appear as the silhouettes, and then you slowly start to see more and more because of the attacks, and then you're like, who are these people? We don't really know other senshi yet. Versus the manga, they're just, we're here, but we're not going to tell you who we are. But does anyone else remember Uranus first appeared with a cape and Tuxedo Masks is Max? And I was like, I don't remember this. But I don't like that. I don't know.
It threw me off the first time I saw it. I was like, Haruka, what are you cosplaying? Like,
it's also weird because when you reread the manga, Haruka, I love it. Haruka hits on Usagi so much more, and I love how flustered she gets. I don't like they have trying to pair off Michiru and Mamoru, and I was like, I don't like that. I get why they do it, but I'm like, I don't like, no, let's stay with Haruka picking on Usagi, because that is just so precious, and then Usagi being like, I don't know what's going on. And I just got kissed by someone else, and I liked it. What's happening?
I would have been like, bitch, same. Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's also in the manga, they definitely make it more of a point that Haruka is both genders. They are not just one, versus the anime, you're like, you're just you.
Yeah.
The easiest way to say it. You're just you. They don't talk about gender really like they do in the manga.
Which was very controversial at that time when it came out.
Yeah. Oh, big time. Naoko was amazing for doing it at the time she did.
I don't think she realized what she was doing. I think she just wanted to do something that was masculine without being another tuxedo mask.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because let's face it, it's a lot of women. It's a lot of women in that series.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And then you like the next season we get Tiger's Eye and Fish Eye.
Hawk's Eye.
Hawk's Eye to try some masculine energy. Oh yeah, Helios.
Don't forget him.
Chibiusa and her white-haired men. She gets Helios and she gets Pereru, okay?
She takes after her Aunt Minako, who goes after Kunzite, Yaten, who else? Ace. Like, she takes after Aunt Minako.
Yeah, she does.
Listen, there's just a certain je ne sais quoi when it comes to the white-haired ones.
Have a certain type of spice to them. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Session Gojo.
Oh, his beautiful eyes.
Zen from Snow White with the red hair. Really good show. Highly recommend. But the other thing I want to talk about that is a big difference is that there is no marine cathedral in the manga. That scene had a chokehold on me. It actually still probably has a chokehold on me to this day. But as even with the Clover Way dub, which was so completely not, the dub was weird. They did the best they could for what they were given.
They really did. The cathedral was an amazing episode because I made sure to rewatch technically the 2 episodes of that because it's setting up for them. It's Eudial has the weird floppy disk at that time for the program, finds out that it's Haruka and Michiru, and the best scene out of that whole thing is her calling their house on the answering machine, not finishing the message and having to call back. And it's Haruka sitting in the window just staring at the answering machine. And it goes through, you've reached the Tenno residence. We're not answering the phone right now. Please leave a message after the beep. Why is your message not long enough? And off from them. And then they meet up with Usagi in the top floor of, I don't know who has an aquarium on the top floor, but money. And they just steal her locket. They're just like, yeah, that's mine now. And then they go to the cathedral, and then Setsuna appears being like, hey, Usagi, I can help you. And she's like, who are you? What's going on? And then you have all of the dramatics of them, of Haruka Michiru being like, we need to finish our mission, and we don't love each other, but we do love each other because we don't want to just be, we're destined for each other. We need to work on our relation. Like, they actually try for their relationship versus Mamoru and Usagi just being like, we stared at each other and we love each other and we're destined, which is why I don't like that relationship. But Haruka and Michiru were then like, we'll sacrifice ourselves for each other and then die right in front of Usagi. And then Usagi's, oh no, what do I do now? I have to save these guys, but Eudial now steals the Talismans and she shoves them in her cleavage and on her hip because who wants to, like, anybody with a chest will know this. Those pockets are the best, but why would you put a mirror in there? That's going to be so sweaty when it comes out. It's just going to stick to everything.
See if you can get it out if it hasn't sealed to your skin at that point.
And then they have to run. And because it has to be Usagi's moment against Eudial sets the trap of the glue. And then Usagi has to like bunny hop all of them over the sentry. Be like, thanks, guys. This is great. And then Setsuna's up in the corner in the rafters being like, I am here. I am watching you. And then Usagi goes and fights like Eudial and has the dramatic moment of, my attack didn't work because now we have this epic fire. And then Setsuna appears being like, I have the talisman.
And it's the most out of left field. Like, what?
It's so good though, because you have so much happening. Within 2 episodes, you have them realizing who has the talismans, Usagi's locket getting stolen, where she's like, I can't do anything. Haruka and Michiru dying because they're like, I sacrificed myself for love and our mission. And then Usagi being like, all of these emotions, what's happening? I need to cry. My friends just died, but I have to save everybody. And then I have to jump through fire to get a cup and then become a giant butterfly that just stands there as, no more fire. And then passes out because Eudial runs away and then kills herself because her brakes aren't working because of Mimete.
Good God, what 2 episodes.
Yeah, you don't have that in the manga or within in Crystal because they're just like, no, we need to condense it down to this singular moment. And you're like, that was boring.
And they're missing the heart. The heart is in the Marine Cathedral in that season.
Missing the heart.
I also love that it was the Eudial who figures it out that it's them too.
Yes.
I was like, look at this smart ass hoe. Look at
technology. She used a floppy disk and some weird program, and she's, oh, it's them. We still don't know what she used for that, but it's just she had programmed enough to figure out what a pure heart was, because that's all they were going off at that time was a pure heart. So whatever parameters she had set, and she found out their phone number and called them. Love it. And knew both their names. It was great.
And that was back in the day before Google, wasn't it?
So she had to yellow page that shit.
She yellow paged them.
And I don't think they had yellow pages in Japan. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how she looked it up because
no idea.
Honestly, it's more impressive.
But she was able to figure out their real identities. The only other one that's been able to figure out real identities was Aluminum Siren in Star.
Yeah,
everyone else has never figured it out.
Hello, operator.
Hello, operator. Yeah.
Oh no, but just those 2 episodes are just, the animation is amazing. The acting is amazing. The just everything about the Marine Cathedral I'm obsessed with.
Yeah. Also, as a random note, can we talk about the music? Because I just realized this was the first season, because we have the violin, like the Outer Senshi intro. This was the first season where music was very heavily influencing all of it, because Sailor Moon's attack, when the music's not there, it means her attack's not working. As soon as you hear the violin coming in, you're like, they're coming!
Yes!
The lesbians are here. Could you imagine? The lesbians are here.
Let's go, lesbians.
That's how I want to enter a room. I want music to start as me and my wife walk into a room.
Yes.
Epic music, too.
Yeah.
And as soon as Crystal came out and they didn't have that, I was like, no.
That was the problem. They didn't have the right theme song.
No. They
there was
none of the theme songs.
Just a master at getting that epicness and that you feel powerful from the music.
It's just, my complaint with Crystal is, first of all, they should have just stuck to the manga for all of it since the beginning. Second, why was it an internet show at first? You had enough money. Third, I feel it was more for the already fans who wanted to see the manga animated. So it's not, it may have brought in some new fans because it was pretty, but they also don't have, the newer fans don't have as much of a connection as us, as the older fans, unless they watch the 90s anime. And I think I have nothing against the Viz dub, the newer one. I don't, because I'm happy because we got stars and blah, blah, blah. But they don't also get the comedy and stuff like we were talking about. So it's very much, we don't have as much emotion as we got when we watched it back on Toonami, even though I screamed about them calling them cousins. I was very excited because I remember rushing home from school because I'm about to age myself. I was 8th grade when this arc came out and Toonami was like, we're coming out with a new season. I remember the fucking hype that I felt when I was like, I was already watching Sailor Moon Japanese because I used to live in Florida. near Tate's Comics, if you happen to live in Florida and you know what Tate's Comics is, they had the episode. So I knew Sailor Moon had more. So like this season, I remember my hype, and that's why I really do love this season. But Crystal, it was meant for
it's a money grab.
Already watched it.
It's Crystal is when it first came out, I was like, this is a money grab because like you said, the animation just wasn't up to par. It wasn't that good. I'm so happy the Proplicas came out because they're so pretty, but I was like, I don't like the first 2 seasons. I just story-wise as well. They're not as strong because it's the intro of the characters. This was the first season where we actually had characters that we liked. The story was starting to really pick up. It wasn't just the destined lovers reborn in the future. This was a completely not new plot, but it was beginning of a new plot that wasn't just Usagi and Mamoru.
Yeah.
I hate that couple. I'm sorry.
I ship her with Seiya, so I can't.
Yes!
I was like, Seiya's right there, girl.
And when they ended stars, and they're like, we'll be friends forever. And Yata would be like, oh God, she didn't get it. And I was like, yeah, Odango.
You're like my sweet summer child. Please get it.
It's like you have this perfect specimen. Please go with this one.
Have your child with Mamoru. He can be like the donor because you got to have Chibiusa. Otherwise, shit's going to happen if you don't have Chibiusa.
Yeah.
Shit's going to go down that it's not supposed to.
Yeah.
He can be a donor. That's fine. And he can be king or whatever, but you can still have a consort.
Yes.
You guys can just be friends and be with Seiya.
Can you have somebody that has more of a personality? The anime, they do give him more chances to have personality, but I have a hard time anytime they come up with we're destined for each other, or we were in love in the past and now we're supposed to be in love again, and they don't really work on that aspect of it. I don't like that, which I think is why I love Haruka and Michiru, because when they reawaken, even when they don't have the memories completely yet, they're like, we're destined for each other, but no, I don't want to just be with you because of that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I also don't like anime Mamoru. I like manga Mamoru.
Yeah,
because he worships the ground she walks on like she deserves. Anime Mamoru, 90s anime Mamoru, is actually the reason I ship Usagi with Seiya, was because I loathed it. Was the gaslighting for me. I didn't know what it was back then, but I knew it wasn't something I liked.
His relationship was better with Fiore.
Yes, and healthier.
Oh, so much more. Oh,
I liked manga Mamoru. He was always there to support her, but
but they were still destined to be together. I was like,
I enjoy soulmates, but not like they lived in the past kind of thing. More of like your soulmates for something ties you together kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they got to figure out that they were tied together. I like those kind of soulmate things. I don't like the reincarnation soulmates.
I like when they have to work for it. So even though if they were destined to each other or they are soulmates, if they don't know that when they see each other and they actually spend time working towards that being together, and they're like, oh wait, we were soulmates in the past. Okay, cool.
My favorite enemies to lovers and their soulmates. I'm like, yes.
Oh, yeah.
But while we're talking about the soulmate trip, and especially Haruka and Michiru, my favorite part is you can tell that they're not together when you go to the Marine Cathedral, because there is a split-second animation where Michiru almost reaches for Haruka's hand, and then she pulls back.
She also, in that episode, she doesn't call her name, right? She calls her by her senshi.
No, Michiru calls her Haruka. Haruka calls her Sailor Neptune.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So there is the hesitation there. And
So
then when she's dying, she's okay, Michiru. And I was like, okay, there we go.
Like, Haruka, it took you that long.
Yes. She had to die first.
But by the way, that animation of her face when Michiru dies is so fucking good.
It's soul crushing. They have a lot of good soul crushing moments in this season, like that, and then Usagi with crisis makeup at the end, pounding her fist on the ground, and then the heart coming. Oh, yeah, you don't get that animation in Crystal. You don't. No.
The animation of her walking out with the baby,
holding Hotaru with the buns disordered and everything. Oh,
that hands down. I want the statue so bad. The garage kit for it.
Hello, everybody, and we're back for part 2 of The Witches 5 Could Have Won, Season 3, Episode 8 of Eternal Mooncast. We thank you all for staying with us. And now we do the Moonie news with Azira.
Because we actually got some Moonie news, some very exciting Moonie news. We are finally getting Sailor Moon Cosmos on Netflix.
Finally!
On August 22nd. We will be getting both halves of the movie, dubbed and subbed, on Netflix after we've been waiting a year.
More than that.
Yeah.
And we're very excited about it, especially because our August episode is actually after, and it will be about the movie and us discussing it. And will actually be not only myself and Michi, it will be our producer, who is my wife, Loki, and the ladies from Bisosho Senshi, Slumber Party.
Yes. So you're going to get everybody.
Very exciting episode, because what's our 2-year anniversary, 3 anniversary?
I think it is. I think it's our 2 or 3 year anniversary. We'll have to check. We're so bad at that.
Because we rushed through season 2. Like,
yes.
We did a lot for season 2.
We did a lot.
That's why season 3 is the way it is. But yeah, so very exciting news. I haven't done Moonie news in a while. I'm going to try to get back to it because there's a lot of merch that is releasing right now in Japan following Cosmos and stuff like that. We haven't gotten anything new news for Sailor Moon, unfortunately. We don't know when we're expecting anything. Don't expect anything. Naoko, the only news she's got is she's drawing covers for K-pop artists.
It was Red Velvet's Cosmic.
Yeah.
Oh, 30th comeback.
Yep.
Which is very sad. We are sad. But there's stuff coming out with the Sailor Moon. Oh, I do have news. If anybody is going to Japan, the Sailor Moon store did actually get an upgrade. In Tokyo, Sailor Moon store expanded. Apparently, one of the businesses that was next to the Sailor Moon store, I don't know if it went out of business, but they bought it and they expanded. So the store is now actually bigger, and they're actually able to fit more merch in it. So that's pretty exciting. It reopened up, I think last month, if I remember correctly.
That's really recent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was fairly recent. It was within the last 2 months that it updated. But yeah, there is new merch that was released, especially on Usagi's birthday. There was new stuff released. I unfortunately did not pull any of it up, but I just wanted to give you guys some Moonie news, especially with us actually getting Cosmos. And if you guys want to know, the reason why it took us so long to get Cosmos is because Toei wanted more money, and the networks over here told them to kick rocks.
Really? That's why?
Because of licensing, they upped the pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Of us being able to get the license for Cosmos, which was ridiculous. And it was significant. From what I understand, it was a significant amount of money compared to them getting Eternal. And essentially the companies went, you can kick rocks. We're not paying that much. I don't know how much Netflix paid. I don't know what was settled. It must not have been what originally Toei asked for. And then we, of course, had to wait for them to subtitle it and, of course, dub it. We didn't know that they had gotten the rights until they announced last month that we were getting Cosmos. Everybody was just like, when are we getting this movie? When? Yeah. Come on. Really, not even Crunchyroll has it. I'm just like, come on. Not even Crunchyroll. You can't watch it anywhere. I'm just like, just give it to me subbed. And you couldn't watch it anywhere.
I was waiting for them to announce it was going to be theatrically released, and then we weren't getting any of that either. And then Netflix was like, oh yeah, we got it. And I was like, okay, good. When? August.
Dang. Unfortunately, they don't believe the Sailor Moon fan base is actually strong enough here to do theatrical releases, which is ridiculous.
They don't know how much we love stars.
Them bringing the musical here. The musical sold out. when it came over here. Every Sailor Moon event that has happened in the United States that are fan run have sold out. Every single event sells out. So I don't understand, and this is my argument with Toei, that they believe that there's no base. We're all older and have money. Expendable income to use on.
We want to
I have
see
so much
Cosmos
Sailor Moon stuff
on screen. We need Sailor Cosmos and Galaxia.
It's a little upsetting because we get Demon Slayer, we got Jujutsu Kaisen came into theaters. All these newer animes, yes, they have a fan base, but so does Sailor Moon. That would have, even if you had done like special screenings, they would have sold out. You could have done special screenings with subtitles and they would have sold out because all of us would have been in those theaters.
Oh, 100%. Especially this movie, the Cosmos movie.
Give me my
There's
Starlight.
your Moonie news and my rant, because I will rant about Toei so much. Actually, just a funny side note, there was an idea to possibly talk about like the handling of Sailor Moon. And I was like, we're not doing an episode of that because I will not be pretty. I will be an ugly, venomous woman on this show because of the mishandling of my baby girls. Okay? Yeah. Okay, we can go back to our regularly scheduled program.
Okay,
Thank you for
got it. That was great.
I'm just here sipping my tea.
I know, you're just like, yep, keep going.
I got shit to say.
Yep.
It's basically shitting on Toei. So we left off on beautiful Usagi walking out with this baby.
Like, it was one of those, like, moments, especially as you said, when she's screaming Moon Crisis makeup, where she is so desperate.
Banging on the ground, and everyone's just so emotional. And that sequence, they have it where everyone's staring at her and they're like, oh, she's devastated. And remember, all of their tiaras disappear and their symbols appear and glow. And you're like, it's all of their powers combining into one. And then it comes out and it's a beautiful sequence. And then she just disappears inside of it. And you're like, what's going on? And then you have the butterflies in the thing. And then she just appears. I was like, oh, this is so much more satisfying than in Crystal and the manga, where she's just on the pillar and then she transforms into Princess Serenity with the staff and just heals everything.
It's fine if you didn't know the other existed.
It's just
that's
not
the problem.
It doesn't have the same emotional outcome. Like, one, you feel like it's deserved. It is all of the emotions going through. It is like, before that, you have all of the inner senshi are creating that like force field around Pharaoh 90, and they have like the creatures clawing at them and all the titty grabbing going on. And they're like completely destroyed. Like, all of the senshi uniforms in that episode are actually battle torn. They're not just like pretty and dying. They're like battle torn and everything. And then they just give her a power, and then she goes in and saves the day, and then appears like soulless.
Yeah, like her eyes are blank.
Ugh,
so satisfying.
So good. Who was in the writer's room? Get them back in there.
Who was animating that? Who was storyboarding and animating that?
Bring them back.
Oh,
honestly, I'll just never forget.
They're most likely the same ones that were in Stars, that were when Michiru and Haruka were dying and they were just reaching towards each other. And you're like, oh yeah, that's another emotional tearjerker.
That's when you're crying and sobbing in the club in the corner.
Yeah. And you're like, don't.
Out of the blue, they're like, why are you crying in the club? I just remembered when Michiru and Haruka reached for each other in Stars and passed away.
Yes. Is this it?
Yes, found it. So thank you, Loki, to our wonderful producer.
Hell down.
Oh like yeah, this is like completely broken down and everything.
I think this is the most broken she's ever been.
Yeah.
Except for Stars. When she finds out Mamoru's dead. And then she's, I'm gonna fuck all you up.
The sheer desperateness in her voice.
Like real people playing.
This is really cool. I'll make sure to link it in the description. Oh, her eyes. That was beautiful.
You got the butterflies everywhere, and then our scene.
And her hair. The first time we
And,
don't
like,
see the
look, her
bun
little
perfect.
things are missing things, and yeah.
It's so good. Okay.
And what was the name of the channel as?
It's Sarah Symphony.
Yes, so thank you for that awesome
They are the
clip.
Sailor Moon Symphony is what they call themselves.
That's so
I'm
cool.
gonna make you.
So why don't we break down each of the Witches 5 and talk about them a little?
Do we want to start with the ones with the most screen time, or how they're killed, or the ones that are unimportant, and then Eudial? Because she is like
90%.
90% of the Witches 5.
What do you think, Az?
We should probably start from the bottom of our list and work our way to Eudial, because Eudial her name sometimes.
So do we want to start with Karoinite?
She wasn't really one of the witches.
That's true.
She was the
Okay,
Let's start with Cyprine and Ptilol.
Their
The
design is really cool.
Their design, they're there for being the last ones. They kill themselves.
Yeah. It's the most badass Mercury bubbles have ever been.
Yeah. Before she gets Aqua Rhapsody. Yeah. Finally, that attack does something, and you're like, okay, bubbles do something. That's good.
Mhm. Literally.
I actually have the stuffed animals of them.
You
They're
do?
little stuffed.
The plushies.
Yes, but it's the case is blocked because I'm still working in here with the new office. It's blocked by my big, huge box of my Ningguang figure from Genshin. But yeah, they Hot Topic released the little UFO plushies of them, and I got them.
I love that.
I was shocked. I was like, "What do you mean you have plushies of them? Where are the others?"
What does this mean? So it's a fun one to have in the series, but they just don't have any importance by the time you get around to them.
Mhm.
No.
And
They
they're
don't
not
make
even
us-
twins. They're
One person. They're
yeah,
two
I think the
people,
red
one
one's actually the
body.
person.
Just one person.
Yeah, they're supposed to be
Yes.
one person that got split into two.
Yes. Which is why it's
So they're
Witches
not
5
They're
instead
not
of 6.
twins. We get the real twins later on in Stars.
That's
Yes.
true.
The two sets of twins that we see.
Yes.
They were cool. I liked their mirror reflection of one another. It was complete opposite when you're looking at the other one. And I liked their colors.
I like their
Yes.
colors. I liked they did them as actual like mirror opposites versus just the same. So that way, we're
Yeah.
like when they had the reveal they have in the 90s anime is really cool how they animated it, because they did like the whole spiral situation and then they just appear and you're like, oh, okay. Versus everything else, they're like, I'm genetically engineered or whatever's going on, and we're actually two people, and now you have to fight both of us. And then they die.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay. That
Their death just
No
feels
purpose.
underwhelming.
They were
Especially for,
they were
like-
gone so fast.
And they were supposed to be the final boss. I thought they were going to be the biggest baddies.
they were just here and there. They didn't really have, all they did was they absorbed the Senshi's attacks and then put it back towards them. That was cool, but they didn't have really any specialties. They didn't have nothing that really stood out with those two. They just color balanced everybody.
And even in the
Yeah.
manga, it was there and gone. The whole team was there and gone. The manga.
In the manga, it was like, well, you were like, flip a page, dead, flip a page, dead, flip a page, dead. Damn!
If I was reading the manga, I would have no idea who these sub-villains were. They were just there. And also, most of the time, they were actually in their school uniforms. And they were introduced as the witch of blah, blah, blah from the class for etiquette and something. And I was like, how am I supposed to know who you are? Versus the 90s anime, we actually get some personality for most of them.
Mhm.
I think we do. Except
Yeah.
for Cyprine in Ptilol, I can't really mark
Yeah.
their personality.
No,
Because they
But
weren't
look-
there.
they weren't there.
But the other 4 had great personalities.
Yeah, because the next one, next to last one would have been Viluy,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
I always associated her with like ice and everything because she was Mercury's foil. But she was always the technology, and she had the nanobots that killed her.
Which, what a scene! Holy shit! When she's
She reminded me of
screaming.
Birdie, though.
Yes.
She was very like, they looked alike, her and Birdie. I understand that's not her Japanese name, but I remember her as Birdie.
Yeah, it's the white hair, the light blue, and they were 100% Mercury coded. They were smart and educated, and they're gonna one up Mercury.
Mhm.
And Viluy, she does, but then she goes too far and gets destroyed by her own technology.
Which is an interesting, be careful of technology. If you go too far, look what can happen.
This was the age where they still were drawing floppy disks for their computers. So this was really cool technology. It's still really cool technology. The closest we've come now is freaking Iron Man before he did the snap with the nanotechnology and everything.
Mhm.
But it's terrifying to think of technology turning on you. It's the iRobot situation. It's just, yeah, it's not just ice, it's or whatever other foil for Mercury. It is technology. It's scary.
Mhm. Although, to be honest, I guarantee you a virus on a floppy disk would take down an entire network nowadays because they wouldn't know what to do with such a simple virus.
Didn't that
Oh my
just
God, that's
happen
probably
with
what-
Microsoft?
That's what I was gonna say. That's probably what happened.
That was someone pushing out code on a Friday. And people were like, you never push code out on a Friday.
No.
You always push it out Monday. I was
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
of course I wasn't affected.
No.
That, oh. But I
No.
love Sailor Denzel coming in saying back when you could rule the world with 1.44 megabytes.
Oh, so much was stored on floppy disks, and now we look at them and we're like, we can't even save a word, a notepad document on there.
No.
I used
No.
to save whole fan fictions that I would copy pasta into a Word document.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would save it on a floppy disk because I had internet at school and I would go on fanfiction.net.
Yep.
And I would copy pasta these fan fictions onto floppy drives because that's what we were allowed to do because we only had one computer with internet in the house. Like I had a computer in my room, but we only had one computer with internet. So it was a little bit of a battle for the computer with the internet. So I would save it so that I could go read fan fiction without internet.
We only
then-
had an internet computer in the kitchen, so I had to be very careful reading fan fiction in the kitchen.
I always had another tab.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not reading nothing. My favorite was when when the floppy disk upgrade came, which was the zip disks. Do you remember those? They were like this thick.
No.
Mm-mm.
You guys didn't have any like the zip drive disks?
No.
That's what they were called.
I didn't.
Mm-mm. We just went floppy.
I remember those. They were upgraded floppy disks essentially, but they were like they were much thicker. They were like this thick. Yeah, you have to look them up. But I remember those because I was like, "Oh, upgrade! I can save more shit on this now."
Bigger fix. But okay, let's circle back. Anything else about Viluy? However you say her name.
It literally shoots an episode.
She was a disco ball. That's what her design was, cracked mirrors. So
It was pretty. It was
was
really
pretty.
pretty. She was a good.
all the cosplayers.
Yeah,
You gotta
poor
glue that all together.
Yeah, I'm terrified for when I do that.
Knowing you, especially, yes.
I'm making all of the Witches 5, so yes.
I love that. Oh my gosh. All right, let's move on to your favorite girl, Tellu. So in the manga, she's again a one-shot and dead.
She's one shot and dead, and she turns into a really scary monster, and then Pluto kills her. So she's just in the manga, she just moves the plot along. The only reason I like her is because of the 90s anime, even though she has one episode, technically 1.5, because she pulls Mimette's plug. So already loved her. And then her episode, she had 3 costumes, and I loved it. She got killed by her plant.
Which again, it's them killing themselves with their powers, which seems to be a big theme of the Witches 5.
After Eudial, it's all of them killing themselves. for the 90s anime. Manga, Moon and Senshi still kill them.
Yeah.
It shows the difference of how they portrayed their powers in the anime versus Crystal manga.
Yes. And then this Tellu was the foil for Jupiter, right?
Yes.
Which green. I get it.
Green. Yeah.
Lauko did love to
How
color code.
creative.
A really pretty green for her, though. I will say that's why I've liked her. I like her character design. Was they picked a very nice green for her. It wasn't like obnoxious, and it was just went very well with her.
Yeah, she wasn't Kelly Green. I think the only other one that has the green is in Amazona's Quartet, and they did her as a Kelly in a dark green.
Oh, and Loki saying also because Jupiter has the oak motif, so plant. And then, but Tellu is important because she does wake up Sailor Pluto in the manga in Crystal. She is important in that stance that you couldn't get rid of her because the plot wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
So she has a little bit of importance, but she's still a one and done overall in the manga. Even in the anime, she's a one and done because she's just got the one episode, but she starts planting the seed where it's like, oh, something's happening with Hotaru and stuff. So
I love Sailor Denzel. She's like a plant witch, chef's kiss.
She is the poison ivy.
I feel like I almost want to go. Did they do voting for who people liked more from the manga? Is that how it determined? Because Mimete got more face time.
I think it was just the order.
And the other ones.
Because in the manga, they have them based off of levels. So they have them one. I think they did it as 1 through 1,000. So Magus is 1,000, and each one's 100 or something. So it was based off of their power levels. So Eudial was no power essentially. Mimete had a little bit more, and as you went up, they each had more power. But the higher you went, it didn't seem like they had more power in the manga. They just all died the same.
Yeah, they really did a better job in the 90s of that.
Yeah, I forgot about the whole like their level blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You thought that meant something. It really didn't.
It meant
the points on whose line is it anyway. Yeah.
All right. And then shall we move on to Mimete?
Yes.
Now, Mimete has personality for days.
She's an idol.
She was born to be an idol.
Yeah.
And then had to be
her coloring.
Yeah?
She was really cute. She had adorable outfits for her episode. Like she had more, like I said, they gave her more screen time. So you got a little bit more of a personality compared to everybody else.
She had 6 or 8 episodes, I believe, and her personality was very boy crazy. So it was like the Venus situation where it's going after all of the really hot guys and stuff for their pure hearts because talent equals pure heart. And they all ended up being like terrible people and stuff. But
I love that look.
So cute with the giant glasses.
I love the raincoat. That's iconic. And then when she's in the contest, so many good. She just had so many good episodes.
She had very cute outfits.
Super cute. And her personality was very young, naive, and like just wanting love and everything. So it made her kind of the innocent villain type situation where she's just so one-minded of I just want this, and if I don't get it, I'm going to be a toddler with a tantrum and try and steal their heart crystal for power. But I want the boys.
She was definitely the youngest portrayed out of all of them in the 90s anime.
Oh,
Yes.
They portrayed her very young compared to the other witches.
Yeah.
But she looks really cute. She seemed to be the one who almost like she didn't want to be a witch.
Yeah.
She's the one that, if I forget when it is in the original anime, but she does make a comment about not so much not being a witch, but about doing something else with her life, about being an idol instead. So she is the one that kind of pulls away from being the witches.
Almost
in
like
a
she
sense.
regrets her decision.
Yeah. It's not what she wanted. Versus in the manga, we just know she's an idol, and that's it, really. That's all the personality we get from her.
Like, I genuinely feel for Mimete in a way from the 90s anime because she genuinely really wanted to be an idol and try to pursue her dreams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's that good 90s making you feel sympathetic for the villain, even though some of the time she drove me up the damn wall.
But she was the only one out of the witches.
Yeah.
That I felt that way.
Yeah. No, she... But I did love her ending scene here where she's up on the big Megatron.
Then we just pull the plug on her and then she's gone because she uses Eudial's machine to become part of the technology.
Technology always seems to be the downfall with them.
Yeah.
Very sad.
All right, but anything else on Mimete that we want to talk about? She is Venus's foil. She's a few episodes long. She's boy crazy.
Not really. She's, as you said, she's the only one that's redeemable, but like all of the Witches 5, none of these girls are ever redeemed or really redeemable. They're there, they have their purpose, and they die. Versus every other season in the original anime, most of the sub-villains are redeemed somehow, either because they were brainwashed or they're turning a leaf like the Ayakashi sisters, or they were possessed. So these are the only ones that are just genuinely, you're dead.
And only in the 90s anime, because in the manga, you're all dead.
Y'all dead.
Everybody dies. And I'm like, even the scouts, and you're just like, where's all the redeeming stuff that happened in the anime? Because I watched, because the manga didn't get over here till they had the Deke dub out for a moment.
Yeah.
And then I started reading the manga and I was like,
I didn't understand when they died because I was like, oh, okay, next episode they're going to be back. And they're like, no, that one panel where they just vaporized, they're dead. That's it. There's nothing dramatic. There's no heartfelt anything afterwards. They're dead. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
And it took you a second because you were like, what do you mean they're dead?
Yeah, it's very fast paced with how everything's drawn. So sometimes you do have to reread things to be like, did I actually catch that? Is that right? Yeah.
No,
and that's
honestly.
how fast these ladies died in the manga. It was done. You're like, oh, that was nice.
But I'd say their deaths in the anime are worse because they're a lot crueler.
Yeah.
Because going off the side of a cliff because of acid snails.
Yep, that's our next one for Eudial.
Yeah, because Mimete was a special kind of crazy.
She was a catty, very catty, spoiled little toddler child. She wanted her way, and that was it.
Yep.
Thank you. I want my way too.
Yep.
All right. And shall we move on to Eudial?
The one with the most screen time, besides Karoinite.
Yes. And she makes it work for her.
Yeah. Let's start with the manga, because the manga, she's in there for a chapter. She's literally making a cult of the students around a fire pit for whatever the retreat is, and then she dies. But she's in charge of etiquette. Yeah, no.
Probably because of Mars being such a lady. She's supposed to be Mars's counterpart.
I can see that.
That's the only thing I can think of, because Mars, she's considered such a lady compared to the other scouts. So
yeah.
But we talked about how funny she is as an engineer with all of her like wonderful contraptions.
She's fantastic.
Oh, in the anime, she is amazing because she's just coming up with all of these like gadgets and gizmos to extract the starseeds. She's not using the daemons as much as the other witches. She's trying to come up with her own things in order to extract these hearts. Mm-hmm. And she has so many good, not so much one-liners, but as you said, with the cathedral episode where she's playing the organ and it's not her playing it. She has a CD player next to her playing organ music. She is just dramatic and amazing. And
she's dramatic to be dramatic, and I love that.
Why feel about her favorite?
Oh,
That's,
yeah.
that's why she's my favorite, because she's also one of the most successful sub-villains out of the entire Sailor Moon series.
Oh,
The
yes.
fact that she figured out Uranus and Neptune and found out who they were and succeeded in grabbing the freaking talismans.
Yes.
And almost wins. I was watching that episode on the edge of my seat. I was like, is this bitch about to win? I understand she's not going to win, but is she about to get away with this shit?
The thing is also, because of the whole power system, she creates a weapon. So the fireball thingy version 2, that is more powerful than Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon's attack doesn't work against it. It's only when she's Super Sailor Moon that she's able to push back the attacks. She created a weapon of Sailor Moon's power. And the only reason that like she died was because she ran away, because suddenly Sailor Moon's in her super form. So she's like, I got to go figure out something new. And the only reason she dies is because of Mimete with the snails and her brakes. Always check your brakes. But if she hadn't died, she could have created another weapon in the anime that would have defeated Super Sailor Moon, because of how they did the power scaling in the anime versus the manga, which is why everyone gets the whole Goku versus Serenity situation, because the 90s anime, it's a little bit different than the power level in the manga. But yeah,
I enjoyed that a lot. That's why I enjoyed about her, was she used the daemons as like a last resort.
Yeah.
To grow those little plant pod thingies. She used them last resort. She would try to do whatever she was doing, and then she'd be like, fuck. Throws it in the microwave. No, nukes the damn thing. And is fucking go. She also had some of the most interesting daemons.
Yeah.
She had some fun ones.
Door Knocker is still my favorite. All their identities get revealed.
I super enjoy that. But like I said, my biggest thing was the fact that she uncovered Uranus and Neptune and figured out they were the ones with the pure hearts before they figured it out.
True.
Like, she informs them.
Yeah. In the best scene ever, with the phone call, that like the answering machine that broken like into two, and she's just so dramatic and angry at the answering machine and how long it is. It's so like, the timing that they did for that reveal was perfect. And she used a floppy disk for her programming. Once again, floppy disk technology.
But it's just the fact that she looks at them as bitches. Look me in my eyeballs. And I need you to understand that you're the ones with the fucking talismans. And Neptune and Uranus are like,
me?
Am I the problem? Yes, you both are, actually.
You're always the problem.
They're the problem because they don't want to work with the scouts, and that's why this whole issue is happening. So I think that's why she's my favorite. Just they gave her such a dynamic, and the fact that they allowed her to do that, I was like, we're gonna let her like figure this shit out? What else would she have done? Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you hit my brain. What if the discourse in the Witches 5 is a reflection of the discourse within the Senshi this season?
It could have been. It's their discourse because they were in discourse because Usagi's, no, we have to like bring them in, their Senshi, and everybody else is, if they want to say fuck you, we're going to say fuck you back.
Yeah.
The other girls were like, no, they don't like us. They can't sit with us.
Yeah, the Senshi was very separated. They were at different tables throughout that season for a lot of it, because Haruka and Michiru were so dedicated to their mission of finding the pure hearts, though we don't know what a pure heart is. And they would just, every time they would be revealed, they would just try and steal the hearts. They weren't trying to save people or anybody. They just wanted the hearts because they didn't know what they were searching for. Because it was inside of themselves the whole time.
That pissed the other scouts off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That pissed off the inner Senshi. They were like, we don't want to work with them.
No.
Yeah.
They don't care. They serve this mission instead of the princess, which is what our job is.
Yeah.
Is to listen to the princess.
It's because Uranus and Neptune were pretty much, we don't believe she's actually our princess. We don't really like her until Usagi kicks their butts in that final episode, that they're like, oh, you're our princess. We bow down to you now. The rest of the time, until that point, they don't respect Usagi whatsoever. They're like, you can't be our messiah. Like, when the chalice first comes into being and she uses the power to become Super Sailor Moon, she can't last in that form very long. Like, she's exhausted. And Uranus and Neptune are like, she can't be the messiah because she can't handle this power.
Yeah.
So that's where they have that secondary mission of finding the messiah.
And yet she still has the chalice, my guys. Like, it doesn't go to you. She still has it.
Yes.
They leave it with her, is what they say, because they have the whole Mimete. So I watched the next episode with Mimete, and they appear and they're like, we're just going to leave that with you because we're going to go off and do something, which is why we have those few episodes with Mimete without any of the outer senshis, because they're like, we left the chalice with you, versus the manga where you're like, the chalice only appears when everyone's together and working together.
Yeah, which, yeah, again, it's the theme of discoursing unity in this season.
Yeah.
But we only see that really, that super discourse in the 90s anime.
Yeah.
You don't see it. There's still a little bit of discourse in the manga because they're still trying to find what's going on and stop Saturn and stuff like that. But it's not as much. Like, you don't have as much tension. You just have them going, we'll do our own thing. You do your thing.
Yeah.
We're going to stay the outer senshi. We're going to do our thing. You don't even know we exist, but we're now physically here in the shadows, and we're just going to hit on you in real life. Great.
Yeah. Pretty much.
This is fine.
That's fine.
I'm fine with this.
I love Haruka hitting on Usagi. It's hilarious, and I love it. It's such a good thing in the manga, and I'm glad they translate that into more so stars for the 90s anime of Haruka and Usagi's relationship. It's not so much in S.
It's my guilt ship.
Yeah.
Ship. Because I ship her and Seiya, but my guilt ship is her with Haruka.
Yeah. It's true. When they have remember the episode where all of them end up at Usagi's house and Haruka and Michi are like, oh, we broke down here. And Haruka's, oh, Usagi lives around the corner. Let's go say hi to her. And you're like, yes.
Yeah, you know where she lives?
Yeah. And then you have everybody transforming in the house and nobody knows who each other's secret identities are. Thanks.
Nope, none.
And Chibi with the cake. Yes. Cakey. Anyway, back on track. So the last one, I think, after Eudial would be Karoinite, right?
Yes.
Which is very memorable just because of that very deep plunge dress, and she's very dramatic. But
it's a nice
she's
dress.
the one where you're like, are you his assistant? Are you his mistress? What are you? Because she is so dedicated to the professor. And that's all she is. She's just his. And he doesn't care.
And then we got
go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just going to look at the comments. You go ahead.
She's also like the caretaker of Hotaru.
Yeah. True.
Like, she's constantly checking in on her, making sure the android's still functioning.
Yeah.
And not falling apart.
Yeah. And then in the anime, she's the one that steals Chibiusa and brings her to Hotaru to finally give her the energy, because she gets the crystal, for her to become Mistress 9.
Yep.
Like, that's her purpose, is to guide the Witches 5, essentially, and then take care of Hotaru, and then get the crystal to her, so that way finally get the final boss battles.
I also find her interesting because they gave her that weird skin tone in the 90s anime.
Yeah, like almost bluish.
Like that alien skin tone almost.
Yeah.
She's like almost like a light mauve purple.
Yeah.
She's bluish almost.
Like blue,
Yeah.
blue purplish.
Blue purple. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand that aspect, especially since the 90s anime didn't give us android Hotaru, so you don't know about like the whole lab. Like the lab blows up, but not to the extreme that it does in the manga.
Yeah.
In the
So,
anime,
like,
the lab blows up, and then you see the Pharaoh 90 offer to restore Hotaru, but you don't see anything with Karoinite versus the manga.
Mhm.
Karoinite is the one that gets hit with the lightning and is possessed first. So maybe they were trying to do that with the whole possession thing. We just came off of the previous season where we had aliens and the Doom Tree. So maybe they were like, let's just keep the alien skin tone and see if anyone connects dots.
It is the Mooniverse.
He was researching something from space, but it was very off-putting because at first you see her and she's supposed to be in shadow, and that made sense. And then she wasn't in shadow and she was still the same color, and I was like, why are you that color? I'm confused. I don't understand why you're a different color than everybody else.
Yeah.
Also, she had the coolest hair.
She had a lot of hair.
Right?
I feel bad because she does have volume. Me, why are you the way that you are? That's me. Yeah. When it comes to Karoinite, I'm like, why are you like this? Her hair is very voluminous. I would never cosplay her because I would not be able to sit with that kind of weight wig on my head because I'd want to have that volume because she's got a ponytail.
You have to do the new wigs, which are the helmets, in order to get that to stay on.
And then not only the helmets, they're now like molding the ponytails and then laying the hair on it. So you don't have any of that weight, but it looks like a ponytail.
Yep.
So smart.
It's the Hatsune Miku wigs that I've seen.
Oh, they're crazy.
Come out. This like the strawberry dessert one that for that. Someone who did like
where they actually do the 4 pieces into the spiral because it's hollow. Yep. Yeah.
So cool.
Oh yeah.
I look at it, I'm like, I'm not making that anymore. No. I will pay someone who already has the materials
to do it.
So I don't have to buy the materials to do it.
All right, and let's go to the comments real quick. So Sailor Denzel asks, here's a question for you three. Of the Witches 5, who do you think would have made a better host for Mistress 9?
And Witches 5? I don't think any of them would have. Karoinite would have been the only other choice for a host because she was supposed to be stronger than the Witches 5 because the Witches 5 do answer to her, sort of.
Yeah, she is a magus or whatever they called it. So essentially the mage. And she, at that level, because of the whole level system that none of us understood, she had direct access to talking with Pharaoh 90 and the Tau system. So that's what that was all about. But none of them really had great power in the manga. Like, it's not really displayed that well.
No.
I think Karoinite would have been the best other host.
Yeah.
That could have actually like withstood carrying Pharaoh 90.
Yeah. But I feel like the only way to have Mistress 9 is to have her be the counterpart with Sailor Saturn, because then you have the power of a Senshi that is fueling Mistress 9.
Yes.
So she needed that.
Also, the Mistress of Silence and Saturn's move is the Silence Wall.
Silence Gave.
That's true.
That all made sense. Also, Saturn kind of silences the universe.
Yeah. Silenced my DVD and made me think it was broken.
And then Loki says, imagine working to prevent the awakening of the destroyer, and then some bitch is like, hey, y'all need to take care of this baby that's basically like a hydrogen or whatever. I mean, just that destroyer that you tried to prevent. Hope that's okay. Smiley face.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't blame them.
Also, like in the anime, you can't blame them. Like, they have a kid in the basement with a bunch of creepy dolls that you're supposed to be feeding energy to. And then in the manga, you have an android that like you're supposed to be giving energy to. It's just no. All
Hotaru was
three.
actually made younger too in the anime for a moment. Like when they first introduced her, she was much younger looking.
Yeah.
Before then, by the end of it, it was like she looked like normal Hotaru for a second.
She's 10-ish in the anime because she's supposed to be closer to Chibiusa. And then when she has Saturn and stuff, she looks older.
I do love her friendship with Chibiusa because I was just like, they're both lonely, okay?
It's a beautiful friendship.
It's also in the manga, her and Chibiusa meet very quickly and develop that friendship versus in the anime, Chibiusa's not around until end of Eudial's time frame. And then she doesn't befriend Hotaru until like Mimete is around, I believe. So they have a whole time frame difference of how long she's friends with Hotaru. So they condense it down in the anime because they expanded the character development. And then Crystal is already itty bitty, so they can't really change that too much. With how
not much left to chop off.
No.
Let's see. All right, so let's talk about. Unless, do you have anything else to add?
I like Karoinite's costume, where it's the high vampire color
and titties for days.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm surprised they're staying in that dress.
Yeah.
I remember my mom asking, "This is a kid's cartoon?" when she came on screen.
They did a really good job translating that one into Seramu with all the trims and stuff.
Ooh, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
But let's talk about how would it have been if they actually got along, because they get along in the manga and Crystal a little bit.
In the manga, they're already a besides doing it one at a time, they're already a cohesive unit because they are just creations from the seeds that Professor made. So they're the perfect beings. So they're just created for these singular tasks. So there's nothing they can improve on versus the anime. Because of the whole power to scaling thing again, Eudial already had made a weapon that was able to defeat Sailor Moon, essentially. If they had worked together, more cohesive.
Like, imagine them attacking all at once.
If Eudial and Viluy worked together technology-wise, because Eudial was just putting everything together, and she was like working in the garage and putting stuff together versus Viluy being in the laboratory. So if they had worked together, scary.
I think that's how they could have won.
Yeah,
Sorry,
if they had worked together, it would have been different. Like they could have all attacked at the same time, but if they hadn't been working together, they would have destroyed each other. But if they had worked together and talked it out and hadn't been the bitches five instead, they would have taken the scouts out. Especially because you've got Eudial with all those weapons that she's just fucking coming up with whatever data she's gathered. And again, mixing with Viru and just everybody working together, they wouldn't have won because the scouts were so separated.
Oh, very much. There was no cohesion.
With that separation with the scouts, they would have just been decimated.
Yeah.
Pharaoh 90 would have won.
And this isn't even talking about them because attacking a different scout versus what their foil is. So instead of being like the one-on-one battles, instead of being like, I'm going to fight that one because I have more power over that one. Like, they never pay attention to that either. Being like, I have fire. Let me go against the grass type.
Yeah. What are they
like thinking? Pokemon? Come on.
Yeah, come on. We know what the gym leader is going to be. We need to be the opposite of that. We don't need to be the same exact thing. This makes no sense.
Mm-hmm. It would have been over real quick for the scout, unless Usagi suddenly got an upgrade, which would always happen because they're the good guys. But
give them a little harder time.
It'd been a much harder time. It would have been significantly harder, especially just with the tech against the scouts. And yeah, they wouldn't have won.
Yeah.
And it would have been interesting. It would have been interesting to see. I do enjoy the hero being defeated and having to come back. I enjoy that way more than just the hero always winning.
I think that's why we love when Sailor Moon has her crisis makeup moment at the end, because technically she is lost. They've lost that point. So that is like her overcoming that, and all of them overcoming that at that moment. Because I think that's like the first time all of them actually come together, because throughout the rest of the anime, they're not.
No. That's their first moment of unity.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they can hear it in her voice how much she wants to save Hotaru.
We all do. We all get goosebumps at that sequence.
Credit to the voice actress.
Yeah, the voice actress. Just the break of her voice. I was like, I'm not okay. I'm never going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. She's got a good few crying moments where she screams like that, and you're like, oh!
So good. See, those are the moments that made Sailor Moon iconic to us, I think.
The screams.
Yeah. Like the desperate, even I love that whenever she like yells.
Ah!
The other one that got me is when the Nehelenia, in the 6 episodes when Chibiusa vanishes in her arms.
Yeah.
And she has like the one scream in Stars where everyone's gone and she screams.
Goosebumps. I cry every time.
Yep. And then Chibi appears and you're like, Kibon no Hikari? What's going on?
Yeah.
And then what do you think of the difference of the manga and Crystal really not having wants or needs versus the anime, them having personalities? Do you think that they are stronger because of not having wants and needs, and they would have been, and that's why they're more unified?
They have no personalities really in the manga. It's very minimal, their personalities. So they don't have a reason to fight. And then in the anime, they're teenagers or women with midlife crises, just trying to do their jobs, and have the youngin coming in and trying to one-up them. The idol being like, I don't like that she did this. I'm going to put snails in everything. I'm going to pull the plug. Yeah.
Oh, but it also, those are the moments that stick in your head because they are so shocking from what people think of as a kid's cartoon.
As an office worker, I can also just attest to the fact I also would have acted like them from working in the office. Yeah, I'm like, I relate much more to them. Being a corporate office worker, I'm like, I see it. I understand. Solidarity. I too would love to do that.
Yeah. And I also get the one-upping because you're like, I don't want to help you with your work because you're not going to help me with mine. So you just figure it out. As per my last email, just figure it out for yourself.
Loop my manager in one more time in a business they don't need to be in.
Yeah, for your awareness. And you're like, let's go play Twister.
Again, why Twister?
It was just...
It's the 90s.
It's the 90s. It was great. They just did so much random stuff, and Twister was just so like popular. It made no sense. Also, just as a random note, the whole fact that their laboratory was just in a sub-dimension, because remember, every time they got daemons, they would just pop out randomly in weird like places. Like the one time they popped out of a wardrobe in a convenience store type situation, and you're like, where is the sub-dimension?
Also, I think this is some of the best monsters of the week, like by far, is in season 3.
They're
so many
random. So random.
Is this right?
Yes, and the elephant vacuum, and the sneaker,
and the cat puzzle.
More. The cat puzzle. What else? There was more. Oh, the scarf.
I don't remember that one.
It's when Jupiter is crushing on Haruka and they go on the car ride.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I got you.
Anything can be possessed, and then you have tragedies and think of My Little Toaster.
Oh, God.
The computer.
Oh, Sailor Denzel says, love the computer one.
Some of the funniest freaking monsters.
And all of them had like great personalities as monsters too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Very simple, but very effective.
I feel like they're very memorable monsters, even if they're only in it for an episode.
Yeah.
No, I don't think the Pachinko one was in that series.
I think that's
just the Mercury episode.
I think that's Nehelinia.
Yeah, I think that's season 4.
Yeah.
Favorite ones that she's the Pachinko machine. Just what is going on?
I want to know, did they just have a dart board with a bunch of random objects and they just threw it at one to see what the monster of the week was?
Yep.
Yep. And then they had to figure out how to put boobs on it. Yeah.
Yep.
Make it sexy.
Yep.
Listen, that elephant vacuum.
The elephant vacuum's hot.
Changed my life. I'll tell you that.
A lot of them were hot, and then you figure out what they were, and you're like, it's still sexy. Mm-hmm.
How do you make a
Never
vacuum
looked
cleaner
at vacuum
sexy?
again. The 90s is a fever dream.
Yes, I agree, Loki.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else we want to talk about with the Witches 5?
No, they were better in the anime.
They were better in the anime for sure. The ending of the season also felt more complete, I feel. Loki. Oh, I'm sexually attracted to a vacuum. That's something for therapists.
Whole season caused a lot of therapy. Was there a golf ball? I don't remember. God, there were just so many weird fucking ones in that
There
one.
was a tennis ball, but I think that was a previous season.
That was the first season.
Yeah.
There's just so many.
There's a lot to unpack from this season. And then we have the difference of the original versus the dub cousins. So that causes a whole nother layer, which we haven't really touched, but it's fine.
Because if I need a 3-hour rant.
But they still made it work with the whole cousin situation. I will give them that. It definitely was confusing, but they tried.
They tried really hard, but they should have cut the hand scene.
But we love that episode.
I love that episode. Top to bottom, love that episode. But cousins.
Yeah. It also was the episode they brought back in friends from school that everybody had forgotten about because Usagi stops talking to pretty much anybody but the Senshi.
Pretty much. Molly gets written out.
Yep.
And I love Molly and Melvin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Those two, even in the manga, they're just gone.
They're gone.
They're just gone.
And they were best friends when the series first started.
I think her only friends.
Yeah.
Naru is her only friend, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Melvin by default.
He disliked him because he had such a crush on her. And she was like, ew.
Yeah.
Girl. No, thank you. I will say it was very confusing with the cousins because I knew that they were together because of watching Japanese. And that series came out and Toonami was 99 because I was still living in Florida when that came out. So thinking about it and just it's a product of its time.
Yes.
Because you have to think Pride wasn't very talked about in 1999. Being gay wasn't talked about. Like I didn't start a lot of stuff I didn't learn. And I tell that to people. I tell this to people like a lot of the stuff that I know now about the community, I didn't find out till I was older. I knew that I was gay. I thought I was bi, but I'm pan. But I knew I was bi around the time that this hit Toonami. So I was actually very disappointed that I didn't see any representation. But again, it's product of its time. That's where the cousins comes from. It's fixed now.
It's fine now.
Yeah.
The only other one that I'm thinking about the same time frame, but it was put on Adult Swim, was Cowboy Bebop with Mr. Saxophone. That was the only kind of representation, and they're like, we're just going to put that on Adult Swim. That's not going to be on the Toonami segment, but Toonami was still, it was okay. It was better than 4Kids. Whew.
Yes.
Amount of censorship on that one.
Cardcaptor Sakura.
You mean Cardcaptor?
Cardcaptor? Yeah. Card captors.
Mystic adventure, card captors, a quest for all time.
I will say they did have some sick beats though.
They did.
Mhm.
They did have some sick openings. Also, the card was so out of order because of 4Kids.
So badly.
Oh, so bad. I don't think I started watching it and then I immediately bought the Chinese bootleg from eBay.
When Card
so you could
Captors
watch it in
first
order.
hit, they didn't have it on eBay yet because eBay wasn't like really a thing when
No.
I was watching like the beginnings of Card Captors. So I was like, I wish, because I had Card Captors on VHS.
I had Utena on VHS. I didn't have Card Captors on VHS.
I sold my Card Captor VHSs for a pretty penny. I regret it now because now I'm a collector, but it is what it is. But yeah, the 4Kids.
4Kids. Same difference.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing. But yeah,
Right?
representation was not present in any anime until I would say like 2010s or something, around the time of the yaoi paddle, because that's when people started paying attention to it. I'm like, that was bad. That was so bad. But
We all have trauma from that.
yeah, but that was when
Yeah,
it started getting some representation because they were starting to bring that media over.
June Manga. June Manga. I
still have some
so
of their
much
stuff.
of the original June Manga over here. And because I used to work for Borders, so I used to be able to get my hands on so much of it that like wouldn't be in stores, because what I would be able to do is go into the system and just look up the publisher, and I was able to find like all of these yaois that were not gonna
with
make
the
it
90s giant hands.
Because this is how big they were compared to their heads.
Oh, they were so bad, and it was always lowly Shota. Oh. But that's what we had. That's what was started with. That was being brought over, but that's what we had. And then at conventions, you had that one booth that had the stuff down, and the one guy being right out front of it, being like, "We got the stuff for you. Come on in.
We've got the porn. Please show your ID."
We've got the somebody said
gravitation. Loki, don't start with gravitation.
No, let's not.
Loveless.
Oh,
amazing concept. I understand, like, we're a Sailor Moon talk show, but I want to say Loveless had an amazing magic system concept.
It did.
And I was okay with Loveless back in the day because I was
young and
dumb and didn't see anything wrong with it until I got older, and I was like, wait, this is not right.
Yeah.
It's just like Black Butler fans where they're like,
yeah. Also, just talking about these old titles, it's like the lack of smut in these older titles. I was like, yeah, we didn't have that much smut, and now we do. And I'm like, yeah, this is fine. This is fine. All the lightsabers, it's fine. Yeah.
So many lightsabers everywhere. But yaoi actually being animated, because we have Twilight out of focus.
They turned off the comments on that one.
They've turned the comments off of a lot. I think they've turned it off a lot of animes now, which is fantastic, because I'm going to be honest, I'm here to watch the anime, not read your opinion.
Yeah.
And if you can't handle the gays, I got news for you.
They exist.
We're not going anywhere. There's so much gay.
Especially on this show.
Convention, so much.
So much gay. Sailor Moon fandom in general, so much gay.
So much gay.
Oh,
I don't know anybody great in Sailor Moon fandom anymore.
Right?
Like, Usagi was like, everybody wanted Usagi, and Usagi was just so respectful. I think that's one of my favorite things in Stars, is her respecting the girl who had a crush on her, which that shocked me when I watched that scene in Japanese, and it was a girl confessing to Usagi, and I was like,
yeah,
hello? What just happened?
Yeah.
But Usagi should also ended up with Seiya. That's
just
my opinion.
We'll be friends forever.
I was like, with Seiya, you get the best of both worlds. Bitch, Seiya is a pansexual's dream.
Yes.
Damn it.
And Seiya respects you and takes you on great dates.
It gets you and gets little teddy bears. Come on.
Fashion sense.
Screaming for help.
And will serenade you with songs. Oof. Yes.
When Sailor Denzel adds in, and we're making the content you watch. The gays.
Yep, we sure are.
Oh, you all do
We
something.
all are just like, hi, we're here. We're not going anywhere. But I think, unless you guys have any last opinions, we should start to wrap up the episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. This was really fun. I really enjoyed this one.
I love how we ended pretty much with talking about
The gays.
the gays. It's great.
The gays are great. Mm-hmm.
The gays are always great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think we're gonna wrap it up, guys, because we are hitting our mark. And that brings us to the end of our show. Thank you for joining us for the 8th episode of season 3. We'll be going on our next Moonie adventure on August 30th. Put it in your brain. Keep it right there. Just set an alarm on your phones, which is if you need to make an alarm with a super special set of guests. Is going to be the Eternal Mooncast we'll have all 5 of our team on camera for a special episode discussing Sailor Moon Cosmos, the movie. So you will see myself with Michi, our producer Loki, who is also my wife. And from Eternal Mooncast Bishoujo Senshi Slumber Party, we will have co-host Relia and co-host Monica as we celebrate this great moment in Moonie history with the movie coming out. We'd like to thank tonight's special guest, Breathlessaire Designs, also known as Cassie. Please go ahead and plug yourself.
Oh God, put me on the spot.
She's like,
How could
shit.
you? I'm Cassie, go by Breathlessaire Designs. I've been cosplaying since 2006, and I like to make pretty things. I love Sailor Moon. I love Clamp. I swear I'm not that bubbly, but that's how I come off. If you ever see me, come say hi. I swear my resting face is not my actual personality. I'm just most likely zoning out because I do that a lot. I get distracted or something's happening and it's just dead stare into space, but I swear I try and be a nice person. I'm so happy to have been part of this tonight. It's been great talking about Sailor Moon. And yeah.
All right.
I don't know what else to say. Yay.
Oh, tell them about your next cosplay.
So my next cosplay, oh gosh, I'll be at Otakon in 2 weeks and I will be bringing a bunch of stuff. I have Luna, who's sitting back here, who might be making an appearance. I also have a random villain of the weeks, which I will be part of the masquerade. And otherwise, that's it. I have a bunch of Disney stuff because I go on a D23 afterwards, the weekend after.
Oh
Yay!
So follow for lots of fun content.
Exciting.
All right.
Hi, everyone. As always, our fellow Moonies, make sure you follow us on all of our socials. You can find those in our link tree in our description. Thank you for being here tonight. I am Azira, your co-host. You guys can find me everywhere at Azira_witch. I stream once a week. I'm probably going to be upping that. This is the only show you will see my face for now until I get a fully anime. I'm a VTuber. I am a magical girl VTuber because why not? I already discuss magical girl shit all the time. So yeah, you guys can find me here on Twitch, and I stream tomorrow at 2 because Saturday is usually my streaming day, but I have this, and we only do this on Saturdays. We don't do 2 streams at once. I would not be a human. I would be. I've tried it. We tried it back when we were doing season 1.
Season 1. Yeah, season 1.
Back when I wasn't a host yet, and it was But yeah, you guys can find me everywhere at Azira_witch. And I hope you like my redesign that Loki's doing. That is much more Sailor Moon based for my design.
Yay! Yeah, and then Loki, and then I beat you all into submission.
Yeah, that's the Comfy Witch. That is Loki.
That's our producer. All right, and then it is time.
I don't. What? Do you want me to show it? It's early. Do you
Go
guys want to see it?
Go for it.
Does everybody want to see it?
Yes.
It's only in sketch phase. Why not? Everyone, you get to have a sneak peek of my magical girl who is coming up, whose what Loki used for reference is Eternal Sailor Moon, who is my favorite. All right, let me share my screen so you guys can see. Is this the right one? I think that's okay. I'm making sure I'm clicking the right thing.
No, it's fine because Restream's updated.
Hold on, let me full screen her so I can actually like scroll.
Oh, she's so cute.
So this is my design that I have, but done in a different art style. I will have a civilian look. So this is my civilian look.
So
I will have my magical girl, which I am designing, and it will be a mashup of Princess Serenity, Cardcaptor Sakura from Clear Card, the diamond outfit, that outfit, and Madoka, her final form.
Got Oka. Yep.
Gadoga. Yep.
Got Oka.
And I also will be putting like Shugo Chata in there too. So
Oh, throwback.
I love it.
as I throw out my back, yes. Yeah, so you guys got a sneak peek.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, and when that is an actual moving 2D VTuber, that is what will be on the show.
That's so cool.
Awesome.
So yeah, you guys got a sneak peek. Congrats.
Yay.
Yay. It's Michi's turn.
All right.
Ta-da.
As always, I have been your host, Michi. You can find my socials, if I remember my own. There we go. At MEW21, some_cosplay. For Eternal Mooncast, previously recorded content from our show comes out Moonie Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. For Bishocha Senshi Slumber Party, the reactions are up for free on Patreon. And our next discussion episode will be coming out in September. Or no, in August. Yes.
August is next. Yes. August is next.
Okay. August is next. Wow, I need to reread my writing sometimes.
I was about to say, because we don't see you till September.
Yes. That's right. Okay. There we go. Now I'm back. All right. For my gaming on Twitch, I'm currently playing Persona 3 Reload. I am skipping tomorrow just because of scheduling and it's con crunch time for Otakon. But that and K-pop Sundays are going to be off this week, and then we'll be back on next week. All right, but we appreciate any likes, comments, follows, or however you would like to support our show in your own way. We do read all the comments on YouTube, and as a quick reminder, these are all just our personal opinions. We celebrate all respectful Moonie opinions here, and we're working hard on the show to be a place for Moonies to come together and discuss their theories and love and passion for Sailor Moon. Remember, as Sailor Moon once said, the tough experiences in life are what make us girls prettier. Good night.
Yeah, mine must be gorgeous.
Damn, you are. All right.
Good night, everyone. We love you guys.